are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you so much for coming on the Digital Advantage podcast here with OpenText and distributor.
No problem. Thanks for asking me.
Tell us, Susan, a little bit about yourself. What do you do at OpenText?
So I'm a pre-sales solution consultant at OpenText, and what that means is my role is to help customers make the right strategic choices when they come in and look at, I guess, solving business problems with our products. So very much a consulting type role, and I have a team of people across Australia and New Zealand who report to me who do the same thing, and we all have our own little expertise. So
fantastic. I know you've been here a little while, so you've seen a lot happen in this digital space. What do you think has really stood out for you in your career at OpenText from a digital transformation perspective?
Look, I think the biggest thing has been the shift to cloud. So a lot of customers moving away from very traditional on-premise type software solutions and towards more cloud-based solutions that either they can consume as a fully sort of SaaS type model, or where they set up their own instance of their software in a cloud native type fashion. So that's probably the biggest change over the last 5 years, is very much that headspace away from we have to own everything and we have to do everything to you guys manage the hard stuff and we'll just consume and take the best bits out of the experience, I guess.
It's quite interesting how the industry has changed in that fashion where it's almost like an outsource for the infrastructure. But you guys have always been on that application space. Has that shift to cloud made it easier for you guys to manage the customer's expectations?
Yeah, look, I think in some ways, and I'm speaking very much from a content services type perspective, which is my own expertise. Right. So I think when you move to a cloud type service, what you really start to see is that the roles become very clearly defined, and the responsibilities and the access within software and what you're able to do with it. So, you know, you move away from that very traditional paradigm of the customer having all the responsibility to them just being able to focus on getting the most out of the applications and the software rather than trying to manage it and run it. It kind of separates that responsibility. So I think it's a really good thing for customers, this shift, because it means that all they need to worry about is solving their problems. How can we get the most out of this software to solve our problems, rather than, we have to be, you know, an expert in containers and we have to be an expert in operating systems and all the rest of it. They can let all of that go. So it's, I think, in some ways quite freeing for business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the burden of understanding things that are not priority to your business. I mean, IT and technology is priority, but generally, if a legal firm is taking care of legals, they don't really want to care about the technology. That's where you guys step in. One of the things I've asked every one of the guys and girls on the podcast so far is digital advantage. OpenText sort of leans on that word a fair bit. Where do you think digital advantage is, in your eyes, OpenText's differentiator?
So I think it's an excellent question, if I might just say. I think with OpenText, the digital advantage comes with a platform-based approach to everything. So rather than us as a software provider trying to just sell you this tiny little niche product that sits over in the corner and does one thing, what we try to do is look at an enterprise and the problems within an enterprise and solve a number of issues across the board at the same time with a platform-based approach. And so, you know, what that means is the customers invest less in terms of dollars, but they get more bang for their buck. So rather than, you know, for example, having to have an analytics capability and a document repository and a reporting solution and a store and an archive and a records management tool, you know, we do kind of roll multiple capabilities into one platform, which then allows the customer to go, right, we've solved all of these key use cases with one platform, and by doing that, it gives them significant return on investment. It means that the overall cost to own and run the software is much lower because they're getting more out of the software in the first place. So I think that is kind of the key to digital advantage. It's really about, rather than trying to have 50,000 components of software made by 50,000 vendors in your enterprise landscape, let's simplify that down and really just focus on a few key platforms and stacks that work together really beautifully. So in the content services space, for example, we have our extended ECM platform, which underpins a lot of the product that we sell, and that integrates really beautifully over into other key software players out in the market. So whether that's an ERP provider such as SAP, whether it's a CRM provider such as Salesforce, the ability to be able to easily exchange data and content across those applications and be able to access one source of truth. I mean, that's a digital advantage that you just don't see out there with other software vendors. I think actually that makes us truly unique in the market.
And what I've realised speaking to you, and this is my second time around taking care of you guys, is that everyone's still worried about the digital transformation, which is something you guys have been doing for quite some time. That's why you can call it digital advantage, because you've seen it change. You've seen it and you've helped clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a little bit older than I'd love to admit on a podcast, but, I have been around IT for a long time. And what I have seen is that digital transformation as a concept has been around for a good, 15 years. People have been talking about digital transformation in one form or another. And I think now it's really more about, for an organisation to look at, okay, we've done some transformation activities. How do we now best take advantage of, what we've already invested in, but also how can we leverage some of the new capabilities that are coming through in the digital space so that we can be truly agile and take the investments we've already made in digital transformation kind of to that next level. And so that's why the narrative, I guess, for us has changed a little bit in that space, because we're not so focused on, starting a digital transformation so much as, accelerating it beyond perhaps where customers might have seen it even going 5 or 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Burke and Ian said it perfectly. You don't know what you don't know, so get the experts in to have a look at your business and see what's happening in there and get that advice and that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think consultation and planning is really key. One of the initiatives that we've undertaken out of our pre-sales group in the last couple of years is we've been working with some major customers across Australia and New Zealand to look ahead at strategic roadmap work, and we've been really spending an intense and in-depth amount of energy and time working with those customers to really understand, no one's got the budget to do everything. So what are the key priorities that you've got looking ahead for the next sort of, say, 3 to 5 years? And what's the most important set of issues you need to solve? And then in our role, we help document and shape up a bit of a program for customers to look at to say, well, if, say, for example, we want to solve these 3 key issues, maybe we want to look at taking a significant step forward in information governance or in content security, or, maybe we're really wanting to tie off some of the work we've done in the past around archiving out some of our older platforms that are still kind of sitting there and costing money, but we're not really using anymore. We're able to come in and consult with customers and help them to build up a picture of where they might need to go that will best address those concerns. And, we always lean on input from the C-level there around, what are their organisational priorities, what's been published in their business plans and strategies. And we do try to look across the board, not only at C-level material, but also at plans that come out of business areas within the organisation as well, to see how can we tie all that together and use technology to deliver a solution for them in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a depth conversation. You can't know everything and be everywhere.
No.
You really got to understand what the business outcomes are. Which brings me to I want to understand what would be a highlight. Don't tell me who the customer is because, we'll get into legals and stuff. But what is a highlight customer where you believe that you really solved their problems and allowed them to get this digital advantage, Susan?
So I think one of the key customers that I'm really excited about is a major bank that we're working with in Australia who have been an OpenText customer actually for quite a long time, but who have a really significant focus on modernisation. And so, we have taken a number of steps with them over the past few years to assist in minor ways, but recently we have worked quite closely with senior managers in that organisation to help them really plan out the next couple of years, and that has been really exciting. That's about to come to fruition for that business, and obviously I can't name who that is, but that has been a really incredible journey, and I think just such a testament to the value of having a trusted partner, that a customer can work with and go on that journey with them. And, it doesn't have to be a 3-month journey, and for most businesses it isn't. When you're firming up that kind of strategic approach, it does take a good, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months sometimes to get to the point where you're ready to, move forward and do something. So that has been one of the most exciting journeys.
Yeah, I can just imagine how transformative that is for that industry of doing something like that, touching so many people.
Absolutely, certainly touching a very large portion of the Australian population in the end with where those solutions will go. So it's nice to walk down the street and look around at people and know that what we're doing is going to offer a positive impact to them in their day-to-day lives without them quite always knowing about it.
Sometimes the magic is best kept secret.
Absolutely.
Look, last question from my perspective. You meet a lot of partners and you advise them on a lot of digital advantage. A lot of people talking about cyber risk and security. How often do you sort of broach that? And I know that OpenText sort of looks at the application and the workflow and the content. And now everyone's going, well, if I put an antivirus in a firewall, I'm safe. What do you have to say about that?
Look, to be honest, I don't think any customer feels or any business feels particularly safe at the moment. In fact, I was having a lunchroom conversation with our expert in security quite recently, and he was speaking about some of the major data breaches which have come out recently in the Australian media, and I'm sure that have impacted a lot of people. And he was saying what we're going to start to see is that is just the tip of the iceberg. So because so many organisations recently have had data breaches, what's happening in the background is the security staff that work for other, top 50 organisations in Australia are now, running around in the background checking to see, have they been breached? And in fact, as the tip of the iceberg, we think that, we're going to see some major announcements coming out in the next couple of months. So, antivirus and firewalls, they've been around for a long time. And while, yes, you might keep up to date with the approaches to those things, I think, you really have to take every precaution these days. And that means going above the traditional approaches to security and really looking at a much more proactive approach to implementing technology that can immediately detect threats coming into the network. So beyond, your very traditional type of attack where, there are multiple agencies trying to come in at the same time onto your network, rather than that type of attack, I think it's about having network detection and intrusion prevention in place so that, should someone get past those initial firewalls, you see that immediately and you know immediately that some action has to be taken. And in fact, OpenText have made some quite significant investments in that space over the last couple of years. And I do believe that we lead the way with some of our capability, both on a network and also on end user devices in that space. So it is a really difficult time, I think, for a lot of customers thinking about security and how do we move forward. And yeah, all I'll say is, you know, definitely worth engaging with a trusted advisor and getting some advice on, you know, what you can do in that space to really focus in on the risk areas for your own business.
Yeah, Susan, thank you so much for your time, for being on the Digital Advantage podcast. We'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.